I'm Kien Leong, and I'm the General Manager for JCIT Asia. So I'm here based in Shanghai. I work with manufacturing companies as they evolve as their part in the supply chain. And I think over the last 8 years, we've seen an evolution of how manufacturing in China plays a role in the supply chain, and how the needs are changing based on customer demand, consumer demand, coming closer to the factory and becoming more tightly connected in that fulfillment process. There are a lot of opportunities to apply perhaps a more scientific method to the way that business processes are operated. And in the forecasting and demand planning, we found in Asia particularly, that's a very natural entry point to start to get some analytical approach and analytical thinking in the way that information about forecasts, about market trends and other market intelligence, and then some of the constraints to meeting that demand from materials, from capacity. So to have those as the starting point to creating more of a data-driven model to managing the manufacturing process. On the one hand, there is a very wide acceptance that uncertainty is a problem, that there is an element of unpredictability about the marketplace. I think the biggest enemy to good demand planning and forecasting practices in Asia is what you might call do the best we can. It's having a culture and a belief in the management level that forecasting and demand planning techniques can help improve or reduce that uncertainty by applying some rigorous method and having a more predictable element through some best practices, rather than really just accepting the same level of uncertainty that is believed to apply to everybody in the marketplace. When we started here in China 8 years ago, there were two kinds of companies who were manufacturing, distributing, retailing product in and from China. There were local companies and there were foreign companies, and the gap between the two was quite wide. I think this is one of the first opportunities there is to work with quite a broad spectrum of consumer and industrial companies, companies that make to stock, make to order, companies who are working primarily for the Chinese market and also driving exports, and with such a wide range of capability and maturity in the supply chain. I think there's a lot of lessons can be learned from both sides there. The other exciting trend, I think, is really the importance, the growth of the Chinese consumer as being as playing more of an important role in the economy here. So whereas a lot of companies were driven towards export processing and meeting European, American demand from Chinese manufacturing, there is much more of an attention and focus now to direct fulfillment to distribution channels and consumers here in China. Well, my theme for the talk and for the workshop is going to be a constraints-based approach to supply, sales and operations planning. So we're looking at a supply model constrained by real-world constraints that perhaps don't often make it into an S&OP planning process. We'll be creating quite a simple spreadsheet model for that, so there'll be some interactive elements and having some ability to do different scenarios. So I think the main takeaway is really going to be understanding how real-world constraints can impact the S&OP process and how S&OP can be enhanced by considering those constraints.